Thank you all for joining us. My name is Vivian Marthell, and I'm the CEO of O Cinema. We're thankful for all the support we've received from local to statewide organizations, businesses, and artists. We are here today to make one thing really clear. O Cinema will not be silenced, and neither will our community. This is about more than just a film. It's about the fundamental right of free expression, artistic integrity, and the role of independent cinemas in our community. You will hear today from a diverse group of speakers who understand really what's at stake. And first, I'd like to introduce to you Mitchell Kaplan from Books and Books.
Thank you, Vivian. As Vivian said, my name is Mitchell Kaplan, and I'm the owner of Books and Books. You know, my mother was brought to Miami Beach as a young girl by my grandparents in 1936, and I spent all my formative years right here. In fact, my junior year of high school was just around the block. I was raised in a Jewish tradition that deeply values freedom of expression, open dialogue, and the pursuit of truth. I stand in strong opposition to the mayor's attempt to punish O Cinema for screening No Other Land. I'm here because I have a lifelong love for this city, and also because I decry censorship in all its forms. I also sit on the board of the National Coalition Against Censorship, and we will be releasing a statement that I can give to you later this morning as well. Threatening to evict a theater for showing a film is clearly an act of censorship, plain and simple. It violates the very principles of free speech and artistic expression that are foundational to our democracy. The First Amendment guarantees that ideas, no matter how challenging or controversial, can be shared without fear of government retribution. When elected officials attempt to silence a film, they cross a dangerous line, undermining those very freedoms that define our society. This action sets a troubling precedent. If the city government can punish a theater for screening a film that some politicians dislike, what stops it from banning books, censoring museum exhibits, or shutting down public discussions, not to mention theater, dance, and music performances? Cultural institutions exist to present diverse perspectives, not just those that align with any one political viewpoint. Miami Beach should always be a place where ideas can be debated, not suppressed. Beyond the moral and constitutional concerns, the mayor's threats, if carried out, exposes Miami Beach as well to legal and economic consequences. The city risks lawsuits for violating free speech protections, and it sends a chilling message to businesses and other arts organizations that come to Miami Beach that political pressure, not principles, dictates policy. As someone raised in the Jewish tradition who reveres the constitutional protections afforded all of us, I reject this attempt to suppress a film rather than engage with it critically. A healthy democracy does not fear discussion. It welcomes it. If city leaders disagree with No Other Land, the answer is not eviction. The answer is dialogue. I urge the mayor and the City of Miami Beach Commission to reject this course of action and reaffirm its commitment to artistic freedom and free expression. Let O Cinema continue to do what it always done, provide a space for film, discussion, and understanding. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Beth Boone, and I'm the Artistic and Executive Director of Miami Light Project. We are a contemporary performance organization that was established in Miami Beach 36 years ago in 1989. We are a proud collaborator of O Cinema. I'm here today to stand in support and solidarity with my colleagues at O Cinema and to defend their rightful decision to screen No Other Land at O Cinema. The threat of censorship and retaliation toward any cultural organization that exercises its constitutional rights is a threat against all organizations, and in our community, we will not stand for it. Banning books and films and free speech is never a good idea, and we will not be intimidated by overreaching elected officials and their misguided actions. Although the issue at hand is not the content of the film, it is the protection of constitutional rights and the upholding of the First Amendment. I look forward to any discussion with anyone at any time regarding the issues that are addressed in this Academy Award-winning film. Miami Light Project supports O Cinema and freedom of expression. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Daniel Tilley, and I'm the legal director of the ACLU of Florida. True freedom means all speech is protected, not just the speech politicians agree with. We are here today because of a blatantly unconstitutional attempt to evict and defund a local independent cinema, O Cinema, merely for showing an award-winning film that some people disagree with. The First Amendment does not allow the government to discriminate based on viewpoint or to retaliate against anyone for their speech. This is not a gray area. Simply put, if the city of Miami Beach adopts this resolution, they will be breaking the law. A decades-old case from the city of Miami helps prove the point. In the late 80s, a museum in the city of Miami held an art auction for which they selected a number of works by artists who had views that a lot of people in Miami disagreed with. And those folks sought to have the city of Miami punish the museum for their First Amendment protected activity and evict them from their city leased space. Sound familiar? The city was sued, and in litigation, the city came up with all sorts of other reasons that they purportedly relied on in deciding to try to evict the museum. The city said things like that the directors of the museum were making a profit from the auctions, that there were issues related to an admissions charge and the posting of signs, about a seeming failure to comply with insurance requirements, issues related to holiday fundraising sales, and other reasons. The court saw through them all and said those reasons were pretextual, they were bogus, that the real reason was retaliation based on a viewpoint that the museum had allegedly expressed. And that was unconstitutional. Perhaps the city of Miami Beach here will try to come up with other post hoc, pretextual reasons for seeking to defund and evict O Cinema. But we all here know the real reason, and a judge will too. But there is another way. Litigation is never the desired path. The best path is simply to comply with the Constitution. And the beauty of deliberative democracy is that we get to have the public conversation that we're having now. The mayor's threats were patently unconstitutional, but they sparked a global conversation about the importance of the arts in our civic life and the importance of free expression to our democratic ideals. This is an important conversation that we've all been having these past couple of weeks. It has shown that at times the First Amendment shines brightest when engaging with speech that can be perceived as challenging or controversial. Whatever has been said by city officials these past 2 weeks, there's an easy path to simply moving on. Elected officials have the power to honor their oaths to uphold the Constitution and simply vote the resolution down. Each commissioner undoubtedly has their own personal views about this particular film. But we should all have a common value around our First Amendment. In a time of disintegrating civic and legal norms, we should all be activating to protect our Constitution, not cast it aside. I invite the commissioners of the city of Miami Beach to join us in that effort.
Good morning. My name is Nadege, and I am the Director of Community Research and Storytelling at Community Justice Project here in Miami. We are a nonprofit of lawyers, researchers, and artists, and we believe in the power of the arts and using the law to affect change in our communities. It is significant that we are having this conversation here on Miami Beach. This is a place where the arts have been a point of contention and violence. Miami Beach under Jim Crow during segregation was a sundown town. Black people could not be found on these streets after 6 p.m. or else. And even when Black performers were invited here to perform, for whites only, this racial apartheid system was enforced with mob violence. This is a city where a Black orchestra that was hired to perform for white tourists was chased out by a white mob. 75 men brutally beat them and told them to go back to where they came from. In this case, it was Columbus, Ohio. Miami Beach is where another group of artists, Black artists, musicians, were hired to entertain white tourists. They were met with a hail of bullets, shot at for crossing the color line. This is a city that has made attempts to acknowledge its history, rooted in oppression and racial violence. Miami Beach has in the past itself incorporated the arts to talk about an open dialogue about that history, because the leaders here recognize that it's necessary. And that is why we must continue to protect art and defend artists who bear witness. There was a time when the powers that be would not have wanted the true stories of Miami Beach shown on screen or translated through art. The stories that place Miami Beach as a site of Jim Crow terror. The stories that spotlight Miami Beach not as an international tourist destination, but as a sundown town where Black people could not be caught in these streets after dark. We need to be able to sit with uncomfortable stories and with the complications and the nuances that they bring forward here and globally. And there has to be space for the storytellers. The people closest to these stories should be able to tell them without being silenced, even if you don't agree. And the spaces that make it possible for us to encounter these stories, like O Cinema, should not be censored.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Kareem Tabsch. I am a documentary filmmaker, the co-founder of O Cinema, and currently the chair of its board of directors. And thank you all for joining us this morning. I'd like to first start in saying that, I realize that no other land elicits a lot of strong feelings. And we're very sympathetic to those for whom watching the film might be difficult. But film's number one job is to evoke a feeling. And the films that we show at O Cinema are thought-provoking, engaging, and about fostering dialogue. We also realize that we live in a time where there's a rise of anti-Semitism, there's a rise in Islamophobia and homophobia, transphobia, racism. There's a lot of division, and we abhor it by all stretches and with all strength of the words behind that. But we realize that we also have an opportunity to bring folks closer together, because dialogue allows us to see other points of view and allows us to learn about other perspectives. And that is what we do here every day at O Cinema. We have had such an outpouring of support for our First Amendment rights to bring films. This week you've seen statements in support released from the International Documentary Association. You've seen statements of support by the Art House Convergence, which is the congregation of art house cinemas around the country. And we saw an open letter signed by over 750 filmmakers of the international filmmaking community, including noteworthy folks like Barry Jenkins, Michael Moore, Marissa Tomei, Phil Lord, Billy Corbin, Alfred Spellman, countless others. Tons of Academy Award-winning filmmakers who realize that this is an issue that starts at O Cinema, but has a ripple effect if it goes unchecked. I'd also like to say that we have traditionally had a great relationship with the city of Miami Beach. We have valued that relationship, and we look forward to getting back to a place where we can be collaborative and we can work in hand in hand to let art and culture thrive in a city that values art and culture. And I hope that that could happen in short order. I will be taking a few questions from you on behalf of the organization, and then we'll be available for any other questions you might have afterwards. So,
can you just respond to some of the mayor's comments last week, calling this film a false, one-sided propaganda attack on Jewish people?
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. I'm not here today to defend No Other Land or any particular film. I'm here today, and I think we are all here today, to defend our First Amendment right to show films that are thought-provoking and engaging and foster dialogue. Some of those films make people feel uncomfortable. And a lot of our views on films are subjective. It is a subjective art form. Different folks are going to walk away with different experiences. I respect Mayor Minor and realize that this has elicited a very strong personal feeling for him, and I respect that a great deal. And I think it is his prerogative and his right to express his opinion that he did not care for the film. But it's a very different scenario when you see an elected official try to use their position to undermine the First Amendment rights of an arts and organization in the community.
Just kind of following up on that, do you think the specific criticisms are well informed and come from a place of, do you think a lot of the critics have even seen the documentary or kind of falling in line to what other people are saying about it?
Yeah, again, I don't know who has seen the film or not. I do believe that in order to have an informed opinion, you should watch the film. And I think it's perfectly acceptable to see it and not like it. We don't show films with the thought that everybody who comes to watch them is going to leave loving them. No. In fact, we encourage you to speak up and say, I didn't like that film. We live in a free market capitalist society. Folks vote with their feet. They vote with their pocketbooks. And that's going to be the first line of telling us if folks wanted to see it. This film sold out at every screening. The overwhelming feedback we received from the general public was thanking us for the opportunity to see it because there was no other opportunity to see it in South Florida other than O-Cinema. It is now expanded to other theaters. So I hope that folks can see the film, they can engage with it amongst themselves and have that dialogue, and that they can share their feedback because we were very open. We have a very vocal list of supporters who don't always love the films we show, and they let us know that, and we appreciate it and we take that into consideration. So I hope folks can see the film and make up their own mind, and I hope they could continue coming to O-Cinema to see films that are going to challenge them, that are going to inform them, and that are going to entertain them.
Is there any, this is actually more for Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel, I think will address any legal questions.
Is there any reason to suspect that the city might be preparing to come up with any of these post hoc reason to evict the cinema if the resolution doesn't pass? Like, is there any reason to suspect that might be happening?
I'm not sure what city commissioners will say. You've seen some public comments by commissioners, but I think their public comments, if they have further comments, will take place tomorrow during the commission meeting.
Okay.
Just a follow-up for Mr. Tilley as well. Do you feel like what the mayor said in his newsletter, where he essentially explained why he was making this proposal, strengthened a potential legal case for O-Cinema?
The statements in his email clearly make out a First Amendment claim.
Kareem, can I ask about, is there a room for a discussion about sensitivity here, that showing this film here in this place could be impinging on people's sensitivities? And is there room for compromise here? I mean, should there be more discussion about the decision to show this film before you went ahead with that in a basically property release in the city?
I think there's always room for discussion and dialogue about any number of subjects. And so one person might find insensitive, another person might find thoughtful. And so that is, again, back to the fact that film, like most forms of art, are subjective. And how we interact and engage with them varies different from person to person. We have seen a wide swath of our community react differently, mostly overwhelmingly supportive of the film and some critical of its content. And I think those are perfectly acceptable and reasonable responses to it. Our job is to foster that dialogue. Our job is to create a place where that dialogue can exist, where it can thrive, where differing opinions are safe to be shared in an open and democratic society, which O-Cinema is a microcosm of.
Do you think there's room for a compromise here, where you'd have some discussion with city officials and you'd come up with some way forward? That, I mean, it sounds like right now it's either they vote down the resolution or they vote up and face a lawsuit. Is there some way to negotiate a way out of this without it just being black or white there?
I mean, I think the First Amendment is a black or white issue. But I hope that we can. We've had, I can't reiterate, I think that we've had a wonderful relationship with the city. We have been programming in the city of Miami Beach for over a decade. This is our second venue that we operate here. Our community loves us. We love our community. We've had a great relationship with elected officials for a great deal of time. We hope that we can get over this situation that we're in now and go back to a day where we're working in close collaboration and in tandem so that arts and culture through the cinematic arts can continue to thrive and that O-Cinema can be at the center of that. We have one more question. Yep.
Can we hear from Vivian by chance?
I think Vivian will take individual questions afterwards. Yeah. Or Vivian, do you want to take a question now? Sure. Okay.
So your name?
My name is Kareem Tabsch. I'm Kareem Tabsch. I'm the co-founder and board chair of O-Cinema.
Thank you.
Good. Yeah, I think Vivian's going to take just the one question. Yeah.
So last week, the mayor said that at one point, O-Cinema did decide not to run this film and then reverse course. Is that true? And what happened there? What were the discussions and the reasoning why?
It was a letter that I received and I reacted to under state of amazing duress. So I sent a letter to the mayor that we would withdraw the film by 10:30 in the morning. I had slept on it, reconsidered, understood the broader perspective that it wasn't about the film, it was about our First Amendment right. I had a conversation with my staff, with my board, and we all agreed that it was really important to show this critical film. It's an award-winning film. It's on mission.
Thank you all very much.
Okay. So once again, thank you all to all our speakers and their powerful words. I want to thank all of you for showing up. And this is our time for a call to action. This is a stand not about O-Cinema. It's about protecting the freedom to tell stories, share perspectives, and preserve the diversity that makes Miami great. We will not be intimidated. We will not be silenced. And if you care about free expression, now is the time to act. Call the city officials, attend screenings, and make your voice heard. We will keep moving forward, and with your support, we will win. Thank you.